over parking in Southeast Portland. A business is paying the city of Portland thousands of dollars for employee parking, but tents are now filling those spots. Plus, President Trump's border czar says he wants to ramp up operations in Portland. While some are trying to find ways to close the ICE office, sheriffs say they need to know whose law they're supposed to follow. But first, today is this special legislative session in Salem, which Governor Tina Kotek called to try and find ways to fund ODOT and prevent hundreds of layoffs. But not everyone showed up to the Capitol on time today, making it pretty hard to get much done. It's our big story tonight. Well, earlier this year, Oregon lawmakers had 6 months to try and pass a bill to fund the Department of Transportation. They didn't make it, so today was supposed to be the start of a special session that the governor called to try and get something across the finish line. If they don't, hundreds of workers will be laid off at ODOT and local agencies, and road projects will have to be cut back. So far, it's not looking great. The hearing was supposed to start at 11 in the morning, but it was delayed several times throughout the day. So many delays, in fact, and so much mess and confusion that, check this out, someone from the public threw foam clown noses from the balcony at the Capitol onto the chamber floor. Capitol staff there had to go around and pick them up. In case you had any question about how some people are feeling about the delays or the funding package. Okay, let's bring in Evan Watson now. He's live at the Capitol. Evan, crazy day, but talk to us. Why these delays?
Yeah, Blair, simply put, lawmakers couldn't reach quorum. That's 40 people, 40 legislators here to start this process. Republicans said that they provided the 4 they were asked for, so that would leave Democrats a couple short, more or less. We didn't get any clear answers on that today, but it led to delay after delay. What should have started at 11 has yet to come to fruition, and who's to say when that actually gets underway? A frustrating, sputtering start to this session.
Yeah, very frustrating. Okay, so Republicans and Democrats have pretty different ideas on how to fund ODOT. They couldn't come to an agreement during the regular session, but what did they tell you today?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with Governor Kotek's proposal, $5.8 billion of funding over about 10 years for transportation funding. Some of the details in that, specifically, she wants to raise the gas tax by 6 cents, raise the payroll tax, add hundreds of dollars for vehicle and title registration fees, and also add some fees and costs for electric vehicle drivers so they share in the cost to maintain roads more than just the people who pay the gas tax when they're buying their gas at the pump. Republicans, on the other hand, say that there should be no new fees or taxes to solve this budget crisis, these transportation problems that we've talked about. They say what should happen here is that for the very basic needs, they should be able to change state statute to allow ODOT to use money that's earmarked for other things, such as clean energy projects or public transportation, to then use that for maintenance and for staff money as well. 2 different approaches that they're looking at.
And Evan, caught in the middle of all this are ODOT workers. What are you hearing from them?
Yeah, with that specifically, with ODOT workers, they are frustrated by how this process played out. They showed up today. They were protesting on the steps behind me saying, hey, we just want some kind of solution, some way to get an answer here and make sure our funding comes through. And here's what one of those workers told me.
You know, there's a lot of talk about affordability right now. You know, we're working class people. No one likes to see taxes and fees goes up. We feel that. But I mean, if you think this is expensive, it's because the legislature has kicked this can down the road for far too long.
Okay, so Evan, if Republicans got their way and changed state laws, that would take a lot of money from environmental projects, right?
Yeah, I asked Republican leader Daniel Bonham about that, the Republican House leader, that is. And this was his answer to me when I said, hey, isn't this a bit of a short-term relief, your proposal, could it be, to not have those tax increases? But if you're cutting from environmental programs, could that be a long-term impact? Here's what he told me.
And so this small 6 cents that they're calling it, small 6 cents, is going to come with more and more taxation very soon in the name of achieving those climate goals. So if we could actually just hit the brakes on some of those goals today and roll back some of the regulatory burden, we could decrease the cost pressure, and then we can start to have a real conversation with how do we get there for your climate goals that doesn't just drive people out of the state of Oregon.
Okay, and Evan, what are Democrats saying in response to that?
Simply that transportation investment has lagged behind for years. I talked with one Senator Colin Pham who told me that this is a product of waiting too long to do something and letting things get bad, and that's why action needs to happen now. Here's what she said.
Oregonians can't afford to let our roads crumble. This is about making sure that our roads are passable, that they are functioning so that Oregonians can get to work, they can get their kids to school.
So what happens next here? Are they going to continue the session over the weekend?
Yeah, Blair, it's a great question. The answer to that is we will see right now, to the point that we saw some legislative staffers not even 30 minutes ago walk by with a bunch of boxes of pizza and say we're in a holding pattern. So as to if anything gets done tonight or it gets done this weekend or they restart on Monday, we've not had any clear confirmation about the scheduling process, just as if each delay today was just a delay on top of a delay. No real clear answers why, but we do know that they are not under special session rules as of this morning. That did not come to an agreement, so they will have to have multiple days of multiple hearings to pass anything when it comes to a transportation package. So this is likely lasting into next week at the very least.
My gosh. Okay, Evan Watson will continue to follow this live at the Capitol for us tonight. Evan, thank you. Well, turning now to the city of Portland and a dispute over parking. A longtime business pays the city thousands of dollars a year for employee street parking. Those spots now overrun by homeless camps. I went and talked with the business owner and those camping there. In Portland's Central East Side, on the corner of Southeast 9th Avenue and Ash Street, another side effect of homelessness is on full display.
They're taking up areas that we're paying for.
Patrick Von Peggert runs this cabinet store that's been in Portland since the 80s.
It's going to be an accent.
They pay the city about $2,000 a year for 6 employee parking permits. Some of those spots they used to park now covered by this homeless camp.
I think that if you're going to charge somebody to use these spots, then there's got to be some repercussion for those people that use them free of charge.
The Portland Bureau of Transportation just increased the cost of parking permits in that area. Patrick's company now pays more than $2,300 a year. In a statement, a spokesperson for the Portland Bureau of Transportation says in part, the permits also raise funding for litter pickup and transportation safety improvements in the Central East Side neighborhood.
It's difficult to justify paying that much money when you can't park a car next to your building.
Us people on the streets, we have different mindset. We just want to get our drugs and I guess spend time with each other.
Elizabeth camps in one of the spots Patrick's company pays for.
Like, it's just so, like, why are you getting mad about the money that you paid for a parking spot? An empty parking spot?
Yeah, because he can't
like,
use
what
it.
are you going to use it for?
Well, his employees, that's what
But they're not even parking here, though.
Patrick's employees don't want to park near tents, he says.
That is their problem.
There's no repercussions if they should break into the car or, having someone there all day long. It doesn't feel safe.
People who are working and that don't get high and have different family lives, they do fear the homelessness and the way that they are dope sick and fiending, and they will rob and they will steal, and they can't control themselves like sometimes, and I get that scary.
Patrick has reported this camp to the city twice since it moved in Monday.
Well, the city is a little slow in response at times.
But parking is not the only problem. The tents block access to work for one employee in a wheelchair.
He has to maneuver around the camps quite often to try to get here. He'll have to take a different route. He'll sometimes get blocked and have to go back a block and a half to cross over and get back to where he needs to go.
A few years back, the city of Portland was sued over this exact reason, tents blocking ADA access on public sidewalks. The settlement agreement requires the city to assess sites like this within 5 business days of when it was first reported.
I've been told it's going to be another week before they can really respond to it, or up to a week.
The city assessed the site and posted it for removal Thursday. A city spokesperson says it will be cleared sometime next week.
That's fine. We can exist anywhere, at any place in time.
The camp is also right across the street from the Multnomah County Deflection Center, where people caught solely with possession of hard drugs can go for treatment instead of jail. something Elizabeth, who's addicted to fentanyl, says she's not interested in.
Why would I want to become part of normal society so I can complete counseling and treatment just to, be in a cell of life?
It's not easy to take care of situations where there's multiple sides to look at, but you have to understand that businesses in downtown Portland are really being challenged to stay in the area.
Now, PBOT officials point out that the business doesn't pay for specific parking spots, but for permits within a parking zone, and that there are hundreds of spots to choose from within that zone. But let's be real, the business doesn't pay for parking permits so their employees can park, say, 3 blocks away. They pay for the permits to park right outside the store, which they say they can't do because of the camp. A city spokesperson says they are opening shelters and day centers for people like Elizabeth to go. However, it's not looking too promising that Elizabeth would even want to go to a place like that, even if offered. So therein lies part of the problem, since the mayor stopped enforcing the city's camping ban back in February. Now, that was if someone repeatedly refused the offer of shelter, they would face fines, jail time, or both. But again, that is not being enforced under this administration. But we want to hear from you. What do you think about this parking homeless camp dilemma? Are you surprised? Has this happened to you in your business? What do you think about the city's response to all of this? Let us know. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Well, Portland police officers are rejoining the Transit Police Division, helping TriMet's officers patrol buses and trains and respond to reports of crime. Now, 4 years ago, the city ended its agreement with TriMet amid protests around the role of police. Devin Haskins has a look at what's next.
Portland Police will dedicate 5 police officers and a sergeant to TriMet's Transit Police Division, and Chief Bob Day says that they're still in the process of selecting who those officers are. The goal is to have PPB officers joining TriMet and working for the Transit Police within the next couple of weeks.
The Transit Police Division that patrols TriMet is made up of officers from Beaverton, Hillsborough, Portland, Port of Portland Police, and managed by the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office.
With Portland Police back alongside us, we can expand our presence during peak hours and in high-demand areas, making sure that our deputies and officers are where they are needed most.
Portland Police had been part of this group for more than 35 years, but in 2020, during the protests following George Floyd's death and as cities were rethinking policing, then Mayor Ted Wheeler pulled them out.
That was a very complex time. The Police Bureau stepped away from a lot of its programs for a variety of reasons and challenges. And I think that there has been lessons learned, and one of those lessons learned is we see the value in the prioritization of our transit system and the benefit that Portlanders experience and the community experiences when people feel safe and want to engage in that.
The move raises some questions, like whether Portland Police can really spare 6 officers when staffing is already stretched thin. But Chief Day pointed out officers were already responding to TriMet-related calls.
There's just a practicality sense that we're doing this work already. We can do it better in partnership with the expertise, the resources, the relationships through transit.
TriMet is also increasing the total amount of police officers to 31, and they said that is about half of what it used to be at the total height of its ranks. In Portland, I'm Devin Haskins, KGW News.
Well, earlier this week, a dad in Multnomah County pleaded guilty after a 15-year-old girl died at his house from a fentanyl overdose 2 years ago. 52-year-old Human Rahamun's son and the girl, Lauren Dominguez, were using fentanyl at his Northeast Portland home when Lauren overdosed and died. Rahamun told detectives that he saw his son smoking fentanyl with Lauren in his home. Multnomah County charged him with 2 misdemeanors, frequenting a place where drugs were used and endangering the welfare of a minor. Now, as part of the plea deal, he needs to complete drug and alcohol treatment, write an apology letter to Lauren's family, not use or have any drugs or alcohol in his home or any minors in his home. If he completes all of that within 18 months, the plea deal states that these misdemeanor charges would be dismissed. Rahamun apologized to Lauren's family in court, but at the hearing, the judge says the blame belongs to everyone.
This entire community failed Lauren Dominguez. Of course, as her mom acknowledges, she made a reckless mistake. choosing to use fentanyl was a reckless mistake. 15-year-old high school students have been making reckless mistakes for as long as there have been 15-year-old high school students. They are not supposed to face the death penalty as a consequence for making their reckless mistake. It is incumbent on this community, as it is on every community, to protect the 15-year-olds who are making reckless mistakes.
Now, the judge said there is no way for the criminal justice system to fix this crisis on its own.
I am tired of this community treating the fentanyl scourge as a homeless problem, or as a transients problem, or as a poor people problem, or as a black and brown problem. I am tired of this community handing a mop and a bucket to the criminal justice system and saying, why don't you clean up after this mess? I don't have a magic wand. I can't go back in time. I can't fix Lauren. I do not understand, and I think I'm incapable of understanding, the nonchalance with which our community seems to be approaching this problem. The extent to which it's been inured to the notion that fentanyl exists and it's dangerous and people are going to die, and some of those people are going to be 15-year-old girls. We must do better. We have to do better as neighbors. We have to do better as public servants. We have to demand more from each other as fellow members of this community. We have to demand more from the leaders in this community, whether they are elected or appointed or civic community leaders who raise their hand and offer to serve. Everyone has to do better.
Important words. Well, still ahead on the story, is it possible for the city of Portland to kick immigration and customs enforcement out of their building in South Portland? Now, it's the place that's been the site of ongoing protests. Members of a local advocacy group are trying. We'll let you know what the city says when the story returns. Two firefighters who were working on Washington's largest wildfire are now in ICE custody. The arrest happened as crews battled the Bear Gulch fire on the Olympic Peninsula. Attorneys with the Innovation Law Lab say one of the people who was detained was an Oregonian. We heard from one of the firefighters who was there. He didn't want to be identified, but he says the two men who were arrested are respected crew members.
Oh yeah, they're good guys. He's been doing this for a long time. He has a lot of experience. Everyone loves him. It's just weird, like it's scary. I just don't want to tell people be safe, man. Like these people are just like doing too much, and yeah, man, I just felt powerless.
Customs and Border Protection confirmed the two men are being held at a facility in Bellingham. The agency says the two are in the country illegally, and one of them has a previous order of removal. Governor Bob Ferguson says he's deeply concerned, and his team is pressing federal agencies for answers. Senator Patty Murray also criticized the move, calling it immoral and dangerous. Meanwhile, President Trump's border czar called out Portland on Thursday when talking about future missions.
Operations are ramping up across the country, but you can see a ramp up of operations in Chicago, absolutely. You're going to see a ramp up of operations in New York. You're going to see a ramp up of operations continue in LA. And, Portland, Seattle, all these sanctuary cities that refuse to work with ICE, where we know public safety threats are being released every day into this country, especially those cities, we're going to address that.
Okay, Portland and the state of Oregon are sanctuary jurisdictions because of laws that limit how local and state authorities can work with immigration officials. Both the governor and the mayor have said they stand behind those policies. However, most of Oregon's sheriffs say they want more clarity on their role in working with federal law enforcement and upholding the state's sanctuary policies. 34 of Oregon's 36 sheriffs signed a letter addressed to the U.S. Attorney General and the Oregon Attorney General. It follows a lawsuit filed by Marion County against Governor Tina Kotek, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Director of ICE. Basically, the county wants to know whether they should follow state law or federal law when it comes to immigration enforcement, in particular when it comes to federal subpoenas to turn over records for undocumented people who are on parole for serious crimes. If they don't give them to ICE, they could be sued by the U.S. Department of Justice or lose federal funding. If they do hand them over, they could be sued by the Oregon Attorney General or advocacy groups. Now, majority of the Oregon State Sheriff's Association are in agreement that, quote, there is a good deal of legal uncertainty that needs to be resolved by a court decision. They say, quote, OSSA respectfully encourages the parties to ask Judge McShane to issue a detailed opinion that provides the type of clarity that will help all local governments in Oregon ensure they are properly following federal, state, and local laws. That means they're asking those involved in the lawsuit for a detailed opinion that would address the inconsistencies across federal, state, and local laws for every government in Oregon. Now, we reached out to Marion County for an interview, but they rejected the request. We'll keep an eye out for whatever decision that the judge makes. Well, in Portland, people are pressuring leaders to find a way to close the ICE facility near the South Waterfront. Some city councilors say they've already looked into it. However, it's not a simple process. They can't just kick ICE out, but it's possible that they could look into code violations at the facility. Neighbors living nearby say the disruptions, the tear gas, and the smoke should be grounds for inspectors to step in. Members of a local immigration advocacy group say as a sanctuary city, leaders here should take action.
ICE's budget just increasing. We know that stuff is just going to get worse, and their taxes are just going to increase. The amount they can do will just increase. And if we don't fight back now, then what will happen to us then?
If we allow ICE to continue to operate when they have violated their permits, that means that anything becomes permissible moving forward.
City officials gave a memo to the mayor laying out possible pathways where ICE could hypothetically be found in violation of codes, anything from land use to noise complaints. But even if an investigation found that they were in violation, they'd have to be given the chance to correct it. Councilor Angelita Murillo also wrote that while council does have the power to enact new zoning and land use regulations, it may not be possible to apply those after the fact. Now, we reached out to ICE for comment, but haven't heard back yet. We're back right after this. Well, that is the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Timbers 360 is coming your way next. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. If you ever miss an episode of The Story at 6:30, we re-air it at 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. on our TV app, KJW+, which you can download for free right now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. In the meantime, have a great weekend. I'll see you right back here Monday night at 6:30.